going to be a philosophical review video, and I'm going to be analyzing some of the philosophical concepts in the game franchise Assassin's Creed and how it touches on the problem of evil and as well as some principles in free will. Before we talk about that, let's give a brief synopsis about the game. Essentially, Assassin's Creed is about two secret organizations that have been warring with each other for over thousands of years. And we have two factions in this war, the Assassin Brotherhood and the Templar Order. The Assassin Brotherhood's organizations is to protect humanity from the abuses of power, coercive rule, and injustice. And they operate under three core tenets, which is what they call their creed. Their creed is to stay your blade from the flesh of an innocent, hide in plain sight, and to never compromise the Brotherhood. And the Templar Order is a worldwide organization that works to seize control of mankind, and they operate by mainly infiltrating very powerful organizations. And their tenets are to uphold the principles of the order, never share the work and true nature of the Templar Order, and to uphold all the previous tenets at any cost. And now let's talk about the Isu. So the Isu were essentially a very highly advanced precursor race that lived on Earth before mankind, and they actually created mankind as like a slave labor force. And and to control mankind, they would create these artifacts called the Pieces of Eden, which they would use to influence of man, so that way they couldn't have their own thoughts and feelings and just obeyed the Isu without question. How the Templars viewed the problem of evil. So the Templars wanted to control mankind to prevent extreme unnecessary pain, such as evil, in which we described in class. And they'll do this through several ways by infiltrating high political roles, religious institutions, as well as powerful modern day companies. And because there is evil, there cannot, and because according to the argument of a basic monotheistic God, if there's evil, then there cannot be a basic monotheistic God. So the Templar Order almost acts as a way to kind of fulfill being a basic monotheistic God by essentially eliminating all evil by taking away mankind's free will. So they're basically a bit more they see themselves as very benevolent. And here's a quote from the one of the Templar Grand Masters in regards to in regards to what they believe and essentially the tenets of their order. Next, we have the assassin's view on free will. The assassins subscribe to the idea of libertarianism, and you can see this because they reject the Templar Order's idea that mankind needs to be shepherded. But yet many of the members of the Assassin Brotherhood actually practice a form of compatibilism, the idea here is that a lot of members of the Assassin's Brotherhood are were born into the Brotherhood, so they were taught the creed and they were taught the tenets from such a young age. And while they're not forced to stay in the Brotherhood. It's essentially all they know, and because they were born into it, you can see how it would definitely influence their thinking and how they would favor the assassin philosophy over the Templars philosophy. And they would also entirely reject the idea of determinism. And I would say this because they would feel that their mission for fighting for freedom and fighting for free will would essentially be useless if under determinism mankind doesn't have free will to begin with, and everything is already predetermined. And here's a quote from one of the mentors of the Assassin's Brotherhood that kind of encapsulates their philosophy as well. And he states, "To recognize nothing is true and everything is permitted, that laws arise not from divinity but reason. I understand now that our creed does not command us to be free; it commands us to be wise." And this goes back to the idea of compatibilism, where yes, they're not forced to stay within the creed, but because some of them are influenced at such a young age, they're taught essentially to be wise under the definition of the creed and to continue to fight for mankind's freedom against Templar tyranny. And here are some of the references that I've made in regards to some of the content I've learned in class. Thank you.